All right, I have a question. Are you more of a volume person, more of a powerlifting person, or more of a stretch person? Now, that's a big question. What do I mean by all those things? Let's break it down real quick. So, if you're volume focused, you're focused on the total weight you're moving. For example, I'm going to use a 135-pound bench for all this, a plate on each side of the bench. If you have a 135 bench, if you're a volume focused person, you might not be doing a 135 bench the entire time. You might be doing an equivalent volume. Like, let's say you can get 135 bench for like 6. You might tone the weight down, do something like 95 and do it for more like 12, and kind of equate how much weight you're doing on the bench over like 4 or 5 sets to what might be 3 sets with 135 for 6. It's focusing on total, like, I don't know, can you do a lot of weight? Can you push a lot of weight continually and overload your muscles until they grow? That's volume focused training. Powerlifting focused training is, let's say you could do a 135 bench and you were just like, no, I feel like I can do a little bit more. And it might be like, oh, I might not get as much. You might focus on like working up, like do 65 for a warm up, do 95 for a small little extra warm up, do 135 for maybe 1 or 2, and then do a massive, like as much as possible. Maybe you get like 145 for 2. Something like that. Something where it's only concerned with like pushing yourself past your limit with power and getting like a bunch of PRs and stuff like that. That would be powerlifting focused weightlifting. Or are you something else? I've been watching a lot of old pro bodybuilders, and a lot of people recommend a type of training that isn't necessarily like, I don't know, praised all the time. It's not lavished with a bunch of compliments, which is stretch focused training. Training with just focusing on, can I get like the very slow progress and like tear down my bicep heads and stuff. It's the slow progress of like really feeling out as much of a stretch as possible when you're doing lat pull downs or like pull ups. It's really feeling like rear delts as you go all the way like back as you do them. It's on chest. I'm doing chest today, hence why I'm making this transition, but it's on chest. Are you really like stretching all the way out and then like really cutting across when you do your chest flies? Are you really like getting the full range of motion and even extended range of motion than what might usually be demanded in order to get the biggest stretch, in order to feel the most discomfort and like new growth into your muscles? That's a stretch focused thing. And that involves maybe going down a little bit. So if you're doing like deep pause, like as deep as possible reps of bench press, since I'm using bench press for example, it might be like you're doing 110 on the bar and you're just like going very, very deep, as deep as possible. Those are all different great forms of weightlifting, but it just depends on what your goal is. From a bodybuilding perspective, since I'm looking to shape and craft my body in a certain way, usually I don't do powerlifting because I'm not concerned with how much weight I can use. Obviously, I'm trying to influence and inflict progressive overload and try to push my muscles over time, but it's just a slow burn up there. And I've realized that in the slow burn, when I'm like, oh, I want to reach 225 one day, I know it might be like half a year, maybe even a year until I reach 225, and I'm not really concerned with how fast my progress goes, especially being a little, a littler guy that's not packing on like a ton of size and becoming a mass monster like that. It's just not really in my goals. I kind of want to stay lean enough to, stay lean enough to just have like a good bit of muscle, but also just enjoy cardio and stuff, not have to like hate cardio or do sitting down cardio all the time, be able to move and be flexible and stuff like that. So a lot of times I'll focus on volume-based training, especially because my log kind of praises volume. My log is like, if you can do a lot of volume, we're moving that chart up. So looking at charts, volume might be the best thing for me. But I'm gonna try something today with chest, which I don't normally do, which is focusing on stretch, focusing on a big stretch, because old bodybuilders will talk about how the stretch is crucial to growth. Some people will be like, no, just mass moves mass. Like, we want to just get as big weight up as possible. But then looking back, they'll be like, no, I'm more concerned with the stretch now in my old age. And that's kind of what it is. It's just adjusting for your individual preferences. It's adjusting for what phase of your life you're in. And at this point, I know I'm not going to compete. I know I'm not going to be a bodybuilder, at least for this current moment. This is just a complete for fun journey. And in order to do that, it requires putting in a lot of extra effort, a lot of extra work into experimenting, figure out different styles of lifting. So this week is going to be peppered with a bunch of workouts that are specifically focused on the stretch. And the first thing I'm doing in the week on this Monday morning is a chest focused workout that's focused on the stretch. So we're going to be toning down the weight a little bit and focus primarily on that stretch. So like I said before, I've toned down the weight just a hair, and starting on tricep extensions, I'm really focusing on, to get that deep stretch, tilting my elbows in and going as deep as possible. Now, when I'm usually doing heavier weight with this, it involves a little bit of like half reps, which nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with like getting 3/4 reps or half reps and like pushing heavy weight on like in between weight when I'm working up on progressive overload stuff. But in terms of like deep stretch focused movements, I'm really going to get the most out of this exercise by prioritizing slowed stretching. Elbows were feeling a lot different on that than they usually do. I don't know if they're used to that level of tilting inward. Interesting for sure. Okay, I'm focused on such deep strep. Oh my gosh, I almost said such deep strep. I'm thinking of strep throat now. The last time I got strep throat, that was like, I hate strep throat. Strep throat is like one of the worst sicknesses ever. I don't even remember what I was saying. I'm just thinking of all the times I've had strep throat and I've just been laid out in bed. Oh my gosh, that just stirred up some memory. My word slips are stirring up weird memories now. I really wanted to tilt my elbows out on some of those reps, but I knew I had to stay in, and it's feeling worth it. It's just a lot of unusual strain. See, this is what I mean by varying the workouts. Varying the workouts so, like, when I'm in the middle of doing new stuff, it's feeling like uncomfortable. It's feeling like a weird stretch. It's something that I need to expose myself to a little bit more, so I'm not just becoming like set in my ways, set in my routine. Once you reach an intermediate stage of bodybuilding, or even in a more advanced stage, I mean, I guess especially in an advanced stage, you reach a sort of higher plane of understanding workouts to where you get set in your own advice. You get set in your own ways, where you're like, when you have people coming up to you and asking you how to do things a lot of the time, or like you're giving out the advice, who are you going to take the advice from? There's a lot of different areas you can go to, but understanding your fundamentals, understanding new forms of stuff that you haven't experimented with before. Understanding openness to, I don't know, just trying something. If you're in the gym for so long, like 5 hours per week is not a very, very long time in the grand scheme of things. But if you're in a gym for 5 hours every week, you have a lot of time to experiment. And so just experiment with stuff. Even if you think stuff is BS, try some different stuff, because you might experience stuff that you wouldn't have figured out if you were just set in your own routine. Okay. Triceps are definitely fully warmed up. They're definitely feeling ready for that chest strain. It's funny, chest, out of all the different things on flat bench, has been moving at a pace that I'm actually pretty happy with. The growth so far. Even though it hasn't been anything extremely flashy, the process of my chest growth after incorporating a bunch of Smith machine work has actually really, really helped me out. So I'm actually really happy with how chest is going, and I want to continue, or how bench, not chest specifically, how bench has been going for me. So I want to continue the good bench growth by keeping things relatively the same, but also focusing on deep stretches. So I want 8 really, really solid reps of 175 controlled like this, and I don't want to be like bouncing the weight up at all. I want to have, full slowed declines and stuff as best as possible. Oh, I'd say that was honestly tip-top shape of reps. I may have had a little bit of offsetness where I was pushing too much on my left side, but I'm going to go back, watch the footage, see where I need to adjust, and see what weight I can do accordingly. So there wasn't anything super wrong about what I did first set, but in terms of feeling, in terms of understanding my body and understanding my strength, I still felt a little off-centered. I still felt a little different than I would like. So I put a 5 on each side, bumped it up to, I guess that's 185 now. And the main goal with this is hit what I need to hit. Completely, like, I don't know, get it in the middle to lower chest region, and really, really focus on the breathing, because when you're doing heavy high reps, you're not focused on the breathing. Like if I was going to do 195, 200 sets, I'm not going to be focusing on the breathing as much. I'm going to be focusing on how hard I'm pushing. And so I need to get my breathing down so it becomes unconsciously something that's helping me. That is really, really quality reps right there. I really, really enjoyed that set. I felt like that was clockwork. That was exactly what I wanted. Okay, 185 again, because I was so pleased with that second set. I definitely think that 185 is the weight that I can manage the most effectively and get the best stretch on. I think 185 for 12 would be really, really interesting to see, like, how far I could stretch with the chest and stuff. But I want to save a little bit of extra reps in the tank specifically for what I'm doing with last set. Now, I'm not holding out. I'm not holding out strength. It's still going to take a lot to manage 8 quality reps, but last set, that's really where I really want to test this stretch theory. How good for me is stretch? How much is stretch going to do for me? Okay, happy with that. Happy with that. Probably not as happy as I was second set, but a little bit of fatigue is injected there. Now I'm going to bump the weight down and see how much a stretch can feel. Well, I just realized I was lying about the weight. I wasn't telling the truth with how hard I was going. I was accidentally unaccounting for the fact that I didn't put an extra 10 on the bar when I was doing stuff. So actually what I did was 155, 165, and then 165, which still good weights, but my pride at doing the heavier weight has kind of been sapped by the idea that the stretch was taxing me. But also maybe it's just a mental thing. I managed it really, really effectively, which was surprising me, and in reality I was just doing less weight. So it accounts for the fact that I was doing it a little bit more controlled. So, but I'm not going to let that get me down. I'm not going to let that change the rest of the workout. And in fact, I dropped weight a little bit in order to focus on the stretch. We're now at 145, just adding a 5 on each side to a plate on each side. So it's a weight that I definitely can effectively manage. But the goal I'm doing it for it is 12 reps, which I don't usually do that high of repetitions. But I want really controlled progress on this because I want to really feel out the stretch, I really want to have reps that just complete chest touching the bar, complete all the way, elbows all the way down before I push back up to see the level of power I can get from something that I know I can reasonably control. So, what I've been noticing, even on the repetitions that I can reasonably control, is that my wrist strength is off from how much I can really do with bench press. So I really feel like when I revitalize my routine coming here soon, that I need to incorporate wrist training to get myself better equipped to handle higher weight. So I have a little bit different of a variation that I'm going to try of chest flies this time, which instead of pulling out the back pad and having me lay against the back pad as I do it, the problem really isn't that I'm tilting back. The problem is that I'm tilting forward, that I'm leaning forward and really trying to get all that, which is not something I need to be primarily focused on. What I primarily need to be focused on is the stretch of chest. And so I think that by having it be more of a chest fly machine, but having it be a little bit looser with the cables like this, that it'll make a little bit more sense to feel tension and stress on my chest. Now, I'm going to be going lower weight to focus on flexing those chest fibers, and it's going to be a little bit more middle chest than a primarily targeted lower chest, which I'm wanting to target lower chest with these, but I need to find a specific exercise that really allows me to feel lower chest outside of dips, which I usually do, but dips are also tricep focused. So I don't know, it's finding the different things that I need to target, and it's experimenting a little. So I'm going to experiment a little with this altered cable crossover, which is turning into more of a cable fly. Oh, I definitely felt it. If not for the sake of changing things up a little bit, it definitely felt more isolated fibers from the stretch that happened when I extended all the way out. So I'm liking the range of motion on that. Okay, I gave myself a little extra time to recover from how much that stretch actually kind of taxed me the first time around. But the second time, I'm going to give it a little bit more pace as I go along, as I get more of that stretch. I kind of do a little bit of a split. I have 5 kind of reps where the left arm goes underneath the right arm to get more of a focus on the lower chest here. And then I'll have 5 reps where the right arm goes under the left arm to get more lower chest emphasis here. And in both instances, the lower chest is always working, but I want each to get an equal amount of complete targeted reps, so that's where I'm going. And I'm going to set this on my chest to see if I can do it with the mic on my chest. Okay, that worked out okay. I don't think I'll just set the mic on my chest next time, though, because I don't want to hit it. But still felt a stretch. Maybe not as powerful as that first time when I was still a little uncomfortable with it, but it's pretty good. Okay, so dips involve 15 reps every single set, which is kind of a hard standard to uphold, I'm not going to lie. But I'm saving it in my log, and I'm confident in it, specifically just of like, I don't know, the amount of reps that I've been doing lately. The amount of reps that I've been doing with tricep dips should prepare me. It should prepare my body to like understand the full breadth of what I need to be accomplishing for this. But if I'm focusing primarily on the stretch, that involves very, very deep dips. And I might be able to get like 10 to 12 of those if I do really deep reps. So I'm gonna go in with the mindset of shooting for 12. And if I can get 15 out of it, then that'll be really good. But that'll involve, 3 extra reps that I may or may not have left in the tank after deep stretch reps. Okay, 12 deep reps. Like I said, I don't think I can get deep reps after the fact. I could probably only get half reps if I went for 15. Okay, second set, I was happy with how first set, especially the start, went with me getting like very deep reps. And so I kind of just want to continue the same trend, and then really, really focus on priming my triceps again for another pressing movement, which is going to be incline press, which I really, really want to do well on incline press today. For some reason, I just really want to feel, confident in my chest today. I've gotten a huge stretch on stuff, and I need to get more huge stretches on my triceps, but also huge stretches on them to prepare my arms and stuff. Prepare my arms to really handle everything. And like I know I said my wrists were kind of twinging earlier. I want to make sure my arms can carry a lot of like what might be affecting my wrist when I go into incline. So let's see what this looks like. Okay, the power that came from that was very, very enviable. The power that came from those reps was, I don't know, it's very desirable. I'm really happy with that. All right, one more push on this. One more push all the way through. Still trying to dip my chest a little bit, get the lower chest fibers firing, get everything warmed up. I really felt happy with the stretch, and I don't know, just the heat that I was putting on my triceps last set. I really felt it when I was like pressing from the bottom up, and so I think if I can just replicate that, it'll be a good set. But I also want to make sure I'm getting my chest underneath these like handlebars right here to make sure I get the full stretch. But 12 more reps, 12 more reps. Okay, 12 reps, content with that. Now ready to move on to incline dumbbell press. So what I'm doing here to really feel out the stretch is 50s for 12. Now, 50s is a manageable weight for me. I've been working on getting 60s. I'm moving 60s and stuff recently, so 50s isn't really out there in terms of weight going down. But the high rep range of 12, now that's going to be a lot. That's going to be a lot forced on me, but I'm focusing on the stretch, remember? I'm focusing on really getting all the way down, not just getting like halfway there and then pushing up, which, you know, it's going to help me out more. It's going to help grow my upper chest by forcing that stretch, by forcing the wide stretch. Like the kind of stretch that you want with chest is what I've been doing with flies, what I've been doing with incline, where I'm stretching it all the way as much as possible when I'm going down, so. Ready for it. Get some deep breathing going. Okay. 10 feels like the max, I guess. I'm gonna try to get one more rep in. Maybe two, maybe two. Okay. See, that's 50s. Managed a bit better there. Obviously still had to take a break, but the stretch is still there. Okay, after almost a full workout, I'm starting to feel the pang for breakfast start to hit in. The munchies are starting to like actively enter my system, and maybe it's just the need for carbs to get me through this latter part of the workout, but even carbless, I feel like today's been a really good day. Focusing on the stretch is having me think critically a lot about my physique in general and think about what I need to plan for going into the next redux of my workout routine. Because the reality is, when I'm planning this type of stuff, it's just a lot of looking in the mirror. It's a lot of like being like, what parts of my physique are kind of smaller than the others? What could I bring up? I think already from looking at a bunch of different things already, I want to stick with improving my chest. I want to stick with, you know, high volume into my chest, whatever is going to like pump up my chest the most. That's kind of already what I'm sticking with. And I'm also kind of thinking about a bicep forward routine, a routine where I'm like working on the peaks of my bicep, trying to get them a little bit taller, a little bit broader, and I'm content with what I've been working on with shoulders, so I might keep the same shoulder stuff. I might vary it a little bit to get some complete isolated work, but I don't know. It just all involves just critically looking at myself, thinking about what's been lagging behind recently, what have I skipped the most? That's another important thing. Just seeing like what can be improved, what can be taken away. Barely got that 12th rep up. Oh my gosh, that was complete and utter failure there. I can't wait to watch that back on camera. After that last set, I don't know how I'm gonna have any energy at all to hit 12 more reps. But, you know, this is about the stretch. It's not about how many reps I can necessarily get. It's about, can I still hit deep stretches on those muscle fibers? And so the goal going into this last set is not, how many reps can I do? How many reps can I do? I'm gonna let the reps fade out into the background. Even though that's kind of a scary thing to do, I'm gonna let those reps, the idea of how much I'm gonna do, fade into the background and just focus on deep stretch, no matter how many I can do. All right, deep stretch. Let's go. Okay. Can I get some more deep stretch? Nope. That's it. That's all that I have left for this exercise. Re-rack these dumbbells. Whew, and we are coming to a close. Still have one more thing I would like to do though. I know what you're thinking, and I even know what you're saying. 80 pounds? 80-pound dumbbells for dumbbell shrugs. Miles, that doesn't make sense. There's no stretch in that. You almost weigh that much. You're not going to be able to get that up for a valid stretch. Actually, I respect your opinion. I respect your opinion a lot, but I'm going to counter it. I'm going to counter it with the fact that dumbbell shrugs in and of itself is a stretch. It is a stretching movement. You are stretching your fiber up as you're shrugging. Shrugs are very weird because it's not like you can really hit them, well, you can't hit them to failure, but the main point of them is kind of similar to my opinions on rear delt rows, where it's how much can you handle carrying strength-wise. Like the strength of your traps is a lot more than you think they are, and you can grow them, you can make them huge. I did not used to have huge traps like this. Just by doing heavyweight with these, my traps have exploded. And so, I mean, my philosophy is, if it ain't broke, just keep hammering away. Like, there's no reason to stop this if I'm seeing the results that I want and I'm seeing the growth that I want. And obviously I don't want to be like Mass Monster walking around where my traps are touching the edge of like my neck or anything, but you know, I'm not to that point yet. I still got plenty of neck left. I'm still pretty lean. I'm still, you know, I'm not on steroids or anything. Even if I wanted to get to that point, I can't really naturally do that. So, yeah, at this point, the best thing for my physique is to go heavy. So that's a lot of talking to set up these shrugs, but that's my philosophy with shrugs. Shrugs are here to stay. Whether they stay in chest day might have to be something I revisit, but at the end of this chest day, I'm going hard with shrugs. All right, 12 good reps, a little bit of pace on them too, which is interesting for a full stretch day, but I like the progress that was going on there. Okay, good little rest period there before I lock into this second set. Get a little bit of energy flowing through so I can hit this with some power. But of course, it's not about the power, it's about the stretch. Wanting to get as high as possible with these, shrugging, almost like I want to bring my traps all the way to my earlobes here. That's the goal. That's the goal when you do these. Stretch up to the earlobes. I'll probably say it a lot more times.
throughout my time here doing shrugs at college. But I mean, that's the truth. That's what grows you your huge trips. Not shrugging back, not anything. For me, it's just shrugging as high as I can possibly go, actually. Sorry. Having a lot of word slip-ups today. This Monday morning, I'm turning into word soup. Maybe it's just getting up early after sleeping in this weekend. Slam was a little bit loud, but I'm happy with that. I'm happy with the progress. One more to go. All right, one more movement, and we cut it to the end. More movement, full strength. Pull out everything I got left. All right, I feel like that was my most effectively managed set left. Very happy with that workout. Felt like the pump was really good, and I'm interested in this stretch thing. I'm starting to feel it. I'm starting to work with it. I know it's going to be torture when I do it on leg day, but stay prepped for the back and bicep stretch, the leg stretch, target muscle stretch. I'm going to go through everything, figure everything out before I redo my plan next week. So cut it to the end here, and a good workout. Good workout.